SEO testing. In a world led by SEO gurus who don't really know what they're doing or what they're saying, and no general consensus in the SEO community on what does and what doesn't work, how do you, as an SEO, cut through the noise and get down to what really works? And in my opinion, it's four words: trust nothing, test everything. And boy, do I have a treat for you today. Enter James Dooley, a hyper SEO entrepreneur. We met at a mastermind a couple of weeks ago in Cyprus. And for the first time in a really long time, I just got to sit back, open my ears, not say anything, and just listen to the knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb that James just kept on dropping, peeling back each layer of the SEO onion, and in some cases confirming things which good SEOs know, and in some cases completely flipping the script on how certain practices are carried out. So that was so interesting. And stick around because in this podcast, you're going to learn more about the truth behind SEO courses. We're going to uncover what you should be following and doing, how to actually normalize failing and thrive on it, which James has become fantastic at, discover what the real limits of Google are, and rethink the way that you do SEO. So, James, thank you for joining. We're really excited to have you here. And I mean, when we spoke in Cyprus a couple of weeks ago, thanks to WhitePress again for that invite, it was fantastic. I really, really found your connection between yourself, your team, your whole enterprise, and failing fascinating. How important is failing to succeed in SEO as an entrepreneur and also as a practitioner? And how do you integrate this into everything you do?
I think it's the most important part of SEO, if I'm being honest with you. I think that with regards to failing, you've got to you either win or you learn. And in this industry, I don't believe there's losing as long as you learn from your mistakes. And then generally in the office, we've got a bell.
Hmm.
If someone goes and fails, or someone goes and gets himself a penalty, or someone goes and breaks something, the systems show them how to do it, and it didn't work. Literally, they ring the bell, and it's a high five, and we're embracing the failure, which sounds very counterintuitive, but if you have the mentality within the culture of the team to thrive off losing and let losing become the fuel and the energy within the team, then it just means you can push the boundaries to limits that you never thought you would be able to push.
That's incredible. And I think there's been no better time to have a culture like that within your, let's say, pool of resources, whether it's business partners or colleagues or peers within the industry. It's never been a better time to have that way of thinking than recently. You know, there's been a turbulent couple of months, potentially even years, depending on how your assets have been performing. Can you tell us maybe about how this culture, setup, and your team helped you deal with this rapid change? And like, what fruits did you bear from this kind of way of operating?
Yeah, I mean it's one of them that you go hard or you go home. Like if you
Hmm.
go to the gym, then you train to failure, and then you know how far that you can go. It works in a lot of different industries, and the true entrepreneurs of the world are risk takers. They're willing to take those risks and push the boundaries. And there's a reason why they're the most successful people in the world. And it is literally because they will be innovative, they will go against the grain, they will try things. And from there, then, like, I think one of the signs is on the wall that it says, literally, it says, go hard or go home. Like, we don't want, no, what I'd say to you is no billionaire ever made his money inside of his comfort zone. So you've got to push them boundaries, get out your comfort zone, and then try to push it as far as you can.
And that's so interesting because you probably have, I would imagine. I mean, the way that I think is that SEO for me is something scientific, okay? So you collect data points and you evaluate which data points have an impact in certain circumstances and in other circumstances they don't. So the more that you learn, the more data points you can track, and the more assets that you have in more niches, the more you learn about how the algorithm works overall. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about, what your consistent flow looks like. So do you have, let's say, some consistent data points which you're tracking around your assets, and then do you have some cool tests you can tell us about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we test everything what potentially is a ranking factor. So what becomes very frustrating in the market is because Google's got a Google pattern for something specifically, doesn't mean that they're using that pattern. You don't know what weight bearing that pattern has got. Now, not only that is that when you start testing it in different markets, like yourself, you're in the iGaming sector and casino, online bingo, slots and stuff like that. What might work in your industry might not work in the health industry. What might work in the health industry might not work in the finance industry, and what might work in the finance industry might not work in local SEO or e-commerce. So you've got to try to start understanding the core elements of what are ranking factors, and then you've then got to see what weight bearing is there, because there is different algorithms, and this is a lot of the people, when you do start understanding how the algorithms work, and you understand the true cost of information retrieval from Google's point of view, in local, right, where there might be mass page programmatic sites, they're using what's called a quantitative algorithm. That is almost like TF-IDF, keyword stuffing, putting entities on a page. But if you're going in a lot of the harder type of niches, like the iGaming sector, then you're going into the qualitative algorithms of like BERT and MUM and a lot of other algorithms, but they're quite expensive to run them. So Google's got to have a reason and an understanding to say, okay, this is your money, your life. Okay, this is in the gambling or in the finance sector. Okay, this is a huge keyword that gets lots of search volume. We need to start running these qualitative algorithms. So all's what it is, you're kind of working things out and what the boundaries are in local, what the boundaries are in e-commerce, what the boundaries are in affiliate. And obviously there's been a lot of people now hit with helpful content update. That's what Google call it, and that's what a lot of the SEOs call it. But I don't believe it's much to do with the content, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's a lot of off-page signals and engagement signals and nav boost and nav seeker signals that they need to be trying to get set up. I know some people that have moved content from an affiliate site onto an e-commerce site, exactly the same content, and it started to rank. So does that mean that it's helpful content for one site but not for another? Or is it pages visited? Is it dwell time? Is it click-through rate? They're all the different tests that people now need to start running. And what I would say to you, Sean, is obviously when we had a great chat in Cyprus, and it's expensive, and a lot of these SEOs can't afford to be running these
Mm-hmm.
tests. So this is where it becomes very important to try to start coming to these mastermind events, coming to certain conferences, speaking to the right people that are pushing the boundaries and breaking the search engine results page to see what works and what doesn't. And then obviously I've got a lot of actual genuine brands that I always try and build a proper brand, and I want to know how far my elastic band can be before it snaps. And I want to make certain I'm nowhere near snapping the elastic band. I want to make certain I'm building proper brands, that I'm getting referral traffic from Pinterest and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I might even be running PPC, and all them places where you can get traffic from them different places actually help with your search engine rankings. So obviously in the mastermind we was in, it's like we was talking about when we ran Facebook ads. During that time of running Facebook ads, we could see a direct correlation with more branded search, because people were seeing the ad, coming to Google, searching for our brand and clicking through to our website. By us running Facebook ads, we actually get an uplift on actual rankings. The minute we stop it, brand searches come down, rankings start dropping. We switch it back on, it starts going back up. And it's the same with PPC. Now, I'm not saying that the PPC team speak to the SEO team and say, oh, they're spending money with Google, so let's reward them with better rankings. But there's some secondary factors, whether that's the click-through rate or the dwell time or Google seeing what's going on with clicks from, let's say, Chrome, which we all know that they're tracking. So whatever it is, I don't know the ins and outs because I don't know what's in Google's black box, but I do know when you're running paid ads, it has a secondary factor for your ranking better inside of Google as well. So there's lots of different tests and stuff like that of what we're always trying to do and trying to leverage what's going to give us best bang for our buck to try to get them #1 rankings.
And as you mentioned, rightfully, even the audience that's going to be listening to this podcast doesn't have maybe the right setup to be able to take themselves from, optimizing a brand that they either work with or a couple of affiliate sites to, having 10 assets trying to test this part of the algorithm, having another 10 assets trying to correlate, analyze, and collect data on the other side of the algorithm. So I think that maybe, the SEO community itself, there are a lot of different places where you could go and get information. Masterminds are one of them. What would you say to the people who are sitting at home in their grandma's basement, looking to really learn a lot about SEO? And those typically tend to be quite some of the best SEOs, right? The hyper-focused ones that just literally go into the nitty-gritty, the detail, but just don't have the funds to get there. Who should they be following? What should they be listening to?
So that's a great question, and there is a lot of amazing people out there that are trying to do well for the community. So if I named a few people, let's say for on-page content, so Kyle Roof, he's got Page Optimizer Pro and he's got IMG courses. Kyle Roof's a great guy with regards to on-page SEO in quantitative algorithms. So in local, I don't know if people have seen within your industry, they've seen that he's been able to rank with lorem ipsum content and place certain words on the page, and that's in quantitative algorithms. He can't do that when it's a very competitive term. A lot of like rhinoplasty keywords of what he's done it for has been in local. And in local, TF-IDF, keyword stuffing, entity kind of on the page is important. But if you wanted to take it on to the next level and you're in a qualitative algorithm, that's where you might go and do Corey Tuckberg's course. Now, Corey Tuckberg, there's so many people that say, oh, he just tries to overcomplicate it. And there's people that have done the course that understand he, in my opinion, is probably one of the most advanced SEOs there is in the world, bar none. His Google Search Console actually has just got insane amount of jumps, like taking sites, big sites from 500,000 clicks a day to 3, 4, 5 million clicks a day. So like he's absolutely crushing it in so many different markets. But yes, is that needed in the smaller industries? No, not really. And he'll be the first to say it. Is he saying that it's just about semantics and you don't need backlinks? No, he doesn't say that. He says that the cost of information retrieval, good quality content, and backlinks are what needed. And they've always been the core fundamentals for the last 2 decades. But in the qualitative measures, you need to be understanding what a semantic triple is. So if anyone doesn't know what a semantic triple is that's watching this, you need to understand what a subject, predicate, and an object, a subject, a verb, and an object, and an EAV, which is an entity, attribute, and a value. When you start to understand that and understand the hops within a sentence needs to be as concise as can be, remove the fluff, but get the right entities and the right values on the page of what's needed, you're saving Google money, you're making it easy for them to be able to rank, but then also, that's exactly what the AI wants, because they want the answers, and they want to kind of extract the answers when they're searching the internet. So that's another thing. So Corey's a great guy. If anyone's been hit with certain manual action penalties, there's someone called Kazra Dash. He's very, very good with website recovery. He's got a lot of data. He's kind of gone down the rabbit hole now of recovering websites. So for website recovery, I'd recommend Kazra Dash. For link building, I don't know anyone that tests more than Carl Hudson. So Carl Hudson is the founder of Searcheroo. I've invested personally, and one or two others have invested in Searcheroo, the link building agency. And I'm not just saying it for that. I'm on about specifically for testing purposes of what works and what doesn't. Carl Hudson just absolutely geeks out just solely on links. So he's not just looking at high DR, he's looking at toxicity, he's looking at trust, he's looking at the amount of outbound links, he's looking at like the traffic, the relevancy, using Google's NLP categorization for the relevancy. So, and he's consistently always testing what works in what algorithms and in what kind of subjects. You've got some of the bigger names like Matt Diggerty's a great guy. He's got Affiliate Lab. My issue is the affiliate space is very tough. There's a lot of people that's been hit. A lot of people that have done his course that have been hit as well. But generally speaking, Matt's a good guy. He does some testing. And Matt Woodward's good at marketing. I mean, if you want to understand, maybe not for SEO purposes, but if you want to understand who the best marketers are in the world, people like Neil Patel, not from SEO, but literally from marketing and investment. If you want to know more of how you can market your business better, people like Neil Patel is one of the best marketers there is in the world. It's not specifically SEO, but marketing is great. So there's a lot of Nathan Gotch is good to follow. There's a lot of good people out there. It's just trying to make certain you're following. If you're going to do an extension of your house, if you're going to get your roof done, you get a roofer to do the roof. So try to make certain. I would never go to Kyle Roof or Corey about link building. I'd go to Carl Hudson, but I wouldn't really go to Carl Hudson about semantic SEO. Try to find out what they're good at and try to find who's best in their lane at what you're weak at, and then follow them for that.
And I think that's such solid advice because I think, especially when, I don't know if you're in the client business or if you're an agency or you're just a consultant and you have some clients, people look at, SEOs the same way that my, grandfather looks at someone with a technology degree, right? Okay, so you know about technology, you have a degree in that, so you can fix everything from my antenna and receiver to my PC to whatever. And SEO is a massive discipline. So we're not only talking about being able to utilize tools like Ahrefs in some scenarios and extract data which you can quantify and predict and outline what you should do for the next couple of months. But then it's also about looking at the different attributions internally on the website itself and what the competitors are doing. And sometimes going a step beyond the competitors, sometimes just going head to head against them, right? So SEO is not just link building. SEO is not just content. SEO is not just marketing. You have so many different disciplines which are brought together. And I think it's great to give some kind of awareness over there that sometimes people fail in SEO just because they fail to put all of the pieces together.
Exactly that,
So
yeah. I completely agree. You've got to nowadays, but 10 years ago it was much easier to rank. Now it is what you just said, holistically doing all things right.
yeah, and if you're looking at, let's say, hyper competitive niches, so I mean, I've worked in the technology spaces with some of the largest brands, and in those cases, you don't even need to worry about links. No one talks about links, right? But if you're writing really great content, you're a reputable brand, people are just going to automatically link back to you. And then you get, 2,000 referring domains over a 2-year period without even thinking about it. But then when you start looking at, the iGaming niche, then you start going into things such as traffic manipulation, and social signals, and then on links, and then on PBNs, then you go a level lower on T2, and it just, there's the iceberg, and you just keep on going lower and lower and lower and lower. So that brings me to my next question, James. In a world where there are so many different algorithms, so many different practices, what are the tests which you recommend running consistently to try and find, those blips in the radar that help you think like, okay, something's changing?
So it makes, if you specifically about tests, right? You want to, if you look at the different pillars of SEO, making certain that like people might not like me saying this, but if someone thinks they're good at technical SEO and they're only using Screaming Frog or Sitebulb or Deep Crawl, then they don't know what technical SEO is, right? You need to be getting your server logs. You need to be extracting your server logs and putting them into, you can put them into the Screaming Frog log analyzer, but I prefer Jet Octopus. Load them into there and see how Googlebot is crawling your website. Not just how you go and run the spider of Screaming Frog around and you go, I've not got any 404 or 301 errors or 500 errors. Go and get like your server logs and see where Google Googlebot is crawling your site, you will realize that they're still crawling old pages that you might have deleted, even though you're 301 there. They still might be crawling that. Now, if that didn't have any link power or anything or historical data, go on 410 those, don't 301 them. So it stops Googlebot going crawling them pages. So there's certain things to set up from a technical standpoint with regards to the server logs. It will tell you within Jet Octopus what you need to fix. Technically, go and get everything sorted from a technical standpoint. So you're not building your house on quicksand. The foundations technically are just done and ticked off. It won't cost a lot of money to do it. Go and do that. When you've got existing content, if it's not ranking, you need to start understanding, why have I got this page? Do I need to merge it with another page? If it's getting impressions and getting some sort of historical data, then keep it. If it's not getting any impressions, you've created a page that's wasting Google's crawl budget. You then need to start making a decision. If it's got links, do you 301 it to the next most relevant page? Do you 410 it? Or do you need to improve the content? If it's a keyword or a page that's got an intent that gets search volume, you might need to do progressive optimization. So you've got to run these tests all the time. You've got to be trying to save Google money when it's crawling your site. Other tests is what kind of social media networks work the best with regards to referral traffic. Does Pinterest work better than Twitter? Does Gmail, when you're sending email out, does that work really well? Does a link in a YouTube description, does that help when you're clicking through to that? Does Facebook ads work? Does PPC work? You've got to be testing things all the time. And what you might start realizing is that certain networks like Reddit ads or Quora ads, they might work really well, right? But then Twitter ads might work even better. Pinterest ads might not work very well. I'm just using these different examples. But when you start running it, if you can run them all and be getting a return on investment or even breaking even from what you're spending on the ads, the engagement all helps with regards to NavSeeker and NavBoost. So there are other tests that you can do. Another big one is sometimes we get certain people come to us and they have spent a fortune over the years on backlinks. But then a lot of the guest posts are not even indexed. A lot of the citations that they've had done are not even indexed. Just go, for the sake of like a penny, less than a penny, go and index all the URL. Go and export all the links that you can see in Ahrefs and in SEMrush. If you use link research tools, go and export all them links. Check to see if any of them are toxic from link research tools. Disavow them. All the ones that you think are good, go and load them into an indexing tool and actually start seeing what jumps that does. It's incredible by removing and disavowing the toxic links, but then force indexing the links that you think are good for Googlebot to come and recrawl them, because they might not have recrawled it for a while. They might have seen the link, but when Googlebot comes back and recrawls it, again, it just gives it, it's almost like freshness of content. It gives you back a freshness of links and gives you another burst. So sometimes we'll load existing link profiles into indexing, especially if you've just acquired some links for like, in local, you might acquire Google stacks, cloud stacks, citations, press releases. Go and get all them into an indexer. It costs you a tenth of the price, if not even cheaper, than what it cost you for the press release. Just go and get that in. Does tiered link building still work? Well, absolutely it does. If you can try to rank, not enough people try to rank the guest posts. Can you go and write the guest post? Some people call it parasite SEO. It's been around forever. Try and rank your guest posts. That if you can rank number one, you want your guest post ranking in position number 2. So now you're filling 2 spots on the first page of Google, and you're getting the referral traffic and you're getting actual customers. For the sake of them, someone buying a guest post and you being able to write it for an extra $10, $20, but it's semantically written with the semantic triples to be able to try and rank for keywords that you want to rank for. Then send a little bit of traffic through to those, or like Signal Boy does like social signals and stuff like that, maybe a couple of tier 2s. Try and rank the guest post. You're leveraging the full power of that. Then probably the last one, which I spoke about with regards to progressive optimization, if you're trying to rank for best casino sites and you've not updated that page for over a week, just go back in and give it a freshness update. You'll be surprised if you're ranking in position number 3 and you just go in and just tweak it and maybe reorder the positioning of the casino brands, that you maybe go and just double check in Google Search Console, is there any terms that's on that you're showing up for that's not on the page that you think is relevant to add on, or there's a question that you've missed off that you could add on. Go and give that freshness element, and Google rewards you for that. Like, you're not getting any content rot, you're not getting any link rot when you're doing indexing and stuff like that. Keep things fresh. Google loves freshness. So it's just doing all, like I said, what I was mentioning before, doing all the things works. What works the best? It's so difficult, honestly, Sean, it's so difficult to understand, is that more important than that? And is this more important than that? Because you're in a live environment, if you get what I mean. So we just try and do everything that we know Google likes and just do all things. It don't cost a lot of money to do it properly. And then that's kind of all the different stuff of what we're testing and what we're doing all the time.
James, what I really like about your insights over here is that everything you've told us is controllable. Okay, so I think that you as an entrepreneur and as an SEO practitioner, you like control and you like the outcome testing. So if there's one key takeaway that I'd put over here is that, even if you just look at the progression of the conversation, what did you start with? Technical SEO. So what's the easiest thing that you can get really proficient on and really have a great and really have full control over and implement updates on immediately? That's the technical. Then you go from the technical to the content. Then you go from the content to the link building. And not only on the link building, but your own profile, gaining back control over your assets. So one thing which is quite interesting, and I mean, this definitely came out in our conversations previously, but also as you're talking now, is that most people don't even know how hard they can stretch things before they break. So people kind of stay at the very, minor kind of tactics, and no one really goes out there and says like, hey, those are dangerous tactics, we don't want to touch them. But realistically, they just don't actually know how hard they can push it to get that kind of value. And James, we're going into, I would say, 3/4 way through this right now. And I'd like you to let our audience know a little bit more about yourself, where people can find you. And obviously, you're a very interesting person, any interesting things that you're doing, and how they can contact you for those interesting aspects.
Yeah, I mean, I've got jamesdooley.com. From there, you can see in the footer, they've got all the links through to like my Twitter profile, my YouTube, my LinkedIn, Pinterest, basically all the different social media platforms that's out there. Sean, what I'd probably say is I'm a businessman first. I'm an SEO second. I leverage SEO for different businesses that I invest into. I spend more time now probably as an investorpreneur than SEO or anything else. So I'm always looking to acquire businesses. They could be, sometimes I look at like my profit and loss sheet and I'm always checking to see what I'm spending the most money on. And I look at two parts of it. One, if I acquire that business or I acquire part of that business, will that bring down my expenses? Yes, it probably would, because I part own the company, so I can get cheaper rates. But two, mainly would be to do with quality control. So that's why I invested into Searcheroo maybe 5-6 years ago. I knew what was working with backlinks and I knew what wasn't working with backlinks. And everyone was obsessed with DR within Ahrefs, and everyone sets their pricing structure against DR. That's what Searcheroo still do, because that's what the market wants. But I knew that DR can be so easily manipulated that I wanted to have my own internal scoring system, which we don't have public, but it has like power and trust with link research tools. It's got toxicity from link research tools. It's got trust flow and citation flow from Majestic. It then does use UR and DR from Ahrefs. It's then using Ahrefs for predicted traffic, and it is only predicted traffic, but it's a good measure of seeing what's good and what's bad. And when you start looking at all the things together, there's many times that you might get a DR60 backlink that's got a trust flow of 2. And that just rings alarm bells to say, I don't want that link. But if you've got a DR60 link with a trust flow of 30, citation flow of 30, it's getting some traffic. Well, at that point, if the webmaster says, well, I want $400 for that link for a guest post, it's still worth doing. But instead of spending $300 on one that actually is probably toxic, it's got no trust. Okay, it's got a DR, but it's toxic and no trust, and you've gone and wasted $300 on that link. Well, you're going to at some point need to disavow that because it's part of a bad link neighborhood. So there's all like things from that front, but yeah, generally speaking, I love doing the testing. JamesDooley.com is the main website. I'm quite active at present on YouTube. I'm doing quite a bit on there. I'm active on like I said, a majority of the social media platforms as well. So hit me up if someone's interested in me wanting me to do some tests. I'm always interested in, as long as it's something that I think is worth us testing. I'm always interested in testing new things. It's not just me that does the testing. I'm in 5 or 6 different co-work groups. So I'm in like a core co-work group for semantic SEO. I'm in one certain private ones. I'm not allowed to say who with, but like with different SEOs that, like you said, the elastic band. We're always trying to snap the elastic band to see what the boundaries are, and you can push things so much further than what you think. But at times, you don't need to. At times, just do things right from the word go and tick all the boxes, and it works well.
I mean, you could have fooled me with saying that you're more of a businessman right now because you are very technically sound, James. So, for anyone who's watching this right now and wants to be successful in SEO, I mean, take a page out of James's book that it's not only about being the businessman and enjoying the good things that come with that, but it's also about understanding exactly how your businesses operate and exactly what's going on. So that's something I can definitely take away from you, James. So next segment.
Just one more
Yeah.
thing on that as well. Something that's also very important from a network.
So we actually just dropped off for a moment over there, and James was about to interrupt me with some really good advice on network. So James, let's pick up where we left off.
Yeah, so what I was saying there was that it's fine being at the forefront at present of what's working in today's algorithms, but I also think it's very important for anyone else who thinks they might be at the forefront to make certain that they're still networking. And the reason for it is because what might work today certainly might not work tomorrow, and that's where the testing and the networking comes into play. And I think it's very important for anyone who's watching this to make certain that they understand the value of being part of co-work groups, of being part of masterminds and networking as much as they can, because like you were saying, that we seem to be doing pretty well, or we are doing very well in today's algorithms, but tomorrow's we might not be. So it's just very important for anyone who is watching this to always be looking to do similar to us, go hard or go home, but do it also from a networking point of view. Like, you're at Sigma next week, and then the following, straight from there, you're coming over to Chiang Mai. You're doing all the networking. You've just been 2 weeks ago to Cyprus. These connections that you're building, Sean, are vital. That if you did end up getting hit with any of your sites, you can quickly drop anybody a message of who you've met in the last few weeks to say, can you take a look on this? And you can get the different people's opinions, and then you can go, I disagree with that. Hold on a minute, there might be onto something here. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And I think it's a great saying for people to understand is there's known knowns, there's known unknowns, but there's unknown unknowns. And the unknown unknowns, when someone just says something, could trigger a light bulb moment, which then could end up getting you to test it. And you might go, oh, this is the problem. So I think it's very important for people to understand, even if they are doing well today, to still be getting themselves out there and networking, because you might not be doing as well tomorrow, especially with a lot of the changes that are coming with helpful content updates, all the other algorithm updates, and AI. We've not even touched upon AI and how SEO almost is changing and evolving to almost become an answer engine optimization kind of industry. So how can you try to start getting your answers within artificial intelligence? Because now it's not just within Google anymore. People are GPT search has just come out, and now people are going to start searching AI more for answers and for questions. So you'll want to be trying to make certain how can you manipulate and getting your brand or name or whatever it is into AI by doing answer engine optimization as well.
So, success, in my experience, has taught me nothing, but failure has taught me everything. So, if you eat humble pie every day, eventually, when you are going to eat humble pie from that big fail, which is always around the corner because things are always changing in our industry, it won't taste as harsh as it does if you're eating it every single day. So, stay consistent, stay humble, listen to what people say. Um, Take the advice that you're hearing from James very seriously, but also keep an open mind that, I mean, you meet some SEOs that uh, think that they're gods, right? Because you're effectively, there's nothing that can teach you what you learn in SEO. There might be some mentors which you could have had, but for the most part, when you unlock some achievement in SEO, sometimes you think like, oh, okay, so I'm some kind of person who knows stuff which other people don't, so it builds up ego. And ego, in my experience, is the enemy of all progress. So if you're not going to be hit with humble pie every day and tackle it the way James does, eventually when you eat it, it's going to be a very, very tough swallow. So that was the perfect segue, James, into our, let's say, last segment. So, when AI busted onto the scene, I mean, when was it? It was, I believe it was like 2023, something like that. For the most part, I believe you've been quite involved in technology and you have quite a wealth of experience with different, let's say, partnerships. I mean, AI wasn't something that we started tapping into when ChatGPT came out. This is a misconception, right? So ChatGPT just democratized the usage of AI, whereby beforehand you would need developers, you would need to feed into different models and get it to do specific things like, check the topicality of a page, yada, yada, yada. Whereby now, any person who can formulate a sentence could just ask a question to AI and, get an answer to their question. So, I mean, I guess my first question to you would be over here, more on the operational side, more than on the user side, which you touched base with. So, how has AI changed the way that you test and you manage things and you update your SOPs and maybe speed up the way that you operate?
It's been an unbelievable for me personally. It's been unbelievable. So I knew that I needed to embrace it. I knew that it's going to be here to stay. I knew that it's going to consistently evolve and become better and better. I'm still nowhere near um, the best kind of prompt engineer that there is out there. But when you start understanding it's garbage in and garbage out, and you understand how to prompt artificial intelligence in the correct way, there's so many things that you can be doing. I mean, we have completely changed now. The first time we write a page and the outline and stuff like that, that's all AI. We then go and humanize it with content with our content team and stuff like that. But all of our main writers now have become prompt engineers, understanding, knowing how to feed the AI. And it can write it with no spelling mistakes. It can write it with no grammar mistakes. It can make certain it's writing it in semantic triples. It can make certain it's concise. You can feed the information and the data and the stats to give yourself information gain. And I think it's important that people don't just go, ChatGPT, write me a 5,000 word article on this, because it's almost going to be like duplicate content. And people go,
Yeah.
oh, it reads really well. Well, you've not trained the LLMs anything new. But if you can start giving it data and start asking it to do certain things, if you start adding certain stuff like tonality to the content as well, then that meets the context of your domain and as a whole, you're keeping the writing style exactly the same as what your brand is. But then there's lots of other things you can be doing with it. Like, I'm a massive fan of doing, like we've already spoke about, all things correctly. Can you integrate AI into technical? Absolutely, you can. Can you, from a technical standpoint, try to start building certain tools or embedding certain like calculators onto your site, or certain things that might be able, quizzes has been an example.
Wow, what an episode. And it's not over yet. So we did have some issues during the recording of this episode, but the good news is that James has agreed to cover the topics that we didn't manage to cover in this episode due to the technical issues in other episodes. And we're going to be recording these across the SEO Club as well as other YouTube channels also. So stay tuned. There's a little bit of value left that James is going to provide. We're going to close up this episode and we're going to get to recording more. So please do like, subscribe down below and stay tuned because more is coming and we're going to cover the topics that got cut out from the technical issues in the next episode. So stick around.
So, James, we had a couple of technical issues along the way, but we've stitched that all together. So, I hope the audience gets a good overall experience. But definitely, we've extracted a huge amount of value from you. But I'd like to close off. And I mean, with all the changes that have been going on the past 8 months, and even the conversation we've been having in the background, right, about how volatile things are becoming, where do you see the future of SEO testing going to keep ahead of the game in this instance?
I think from a testing standpoint, you need to be embracing AI. I think the AI answers are going to keep growing. So how to feed the LLMs a little bit more. But how can you then leverage the AI to scale out lots of different platforms? TikTok search is growing. People are using YouTube search more than ever. People are using Reddit and forums more than they ever have done. So now, instead of like moaning that Reddit has grown so much, why not just go and get your answers in Reddit? So if there's certain pages that are ranking, let's say related to slot games, and they're ranking in position number 1 or in the top 3, just make certain you're seen with your answers that hopefully link back through to your website in the Reddit posts that are ranking. Same with Quora. Just be seen in as many different places as possible. Keep testing it. You'll realize that the referral traffic from these rank pages is going to benefit your own website. Touch upon those 11 touch points that you can try to do. So if Pinterest is ranking, try and go and use Midjourney or DALL-E to create some nice images or kind of pie charts, bar graphs, whatever it is. Try and get it into Pinterest and try and get your images ranking. If there's a video carousel, can you create a video carousel in YouTube? Just be omnipresent is kind of the easiest way of me putting it. Be seen everywhere. Instead of moaning about it, just embrace it and realize that there's things that are going to change. If there's more answer summaries coming in, try to get into those answer summaries. In the people also asking, the related searches, in whatever it is where people are searching, just try and be seen in as many different places as possible. With regards to testing, the tests change all the time. The core fundamentals are always there from technical content, backlinks, engagement. But that now where we test more of is where we think have they started to lessen the weight of backlinks and put more weight into engagement? Well, okay, let's test that more. Have they put more emphasis on quality of content? Okay, what does quality of content mean? Let's test this more. And that's where it's a difficult answer to answer now, because today I think the cost of information retrieval, which is to do with making your content more concise and removing the fluff, is big. And that's what we're doing a lot of testing on. People became obsessed with topical authority, and now we're actually helping people's websites by deleting a lot of content, and they're seeing big jumps. So because they've just gone too wide, off topic, it's not stayed on the same source context of what their brand and domain is about, but because two of the competitors have written a page about something they feel that they needed to gain topical authority. But it doesn't work that way. That's known as being topical coverage. Topical authority is topical coverage plus historical data, and that's when you get topical authority. If you've got pages just for the sake of having pages on your website that get no links, no social signals, and no traffic or impressions, that's not helping your site. It needs to be getting something there for it to add from topical coverage to topical authority. And I think that's another big factor that people need to start looking at coming into 2025.
James, I just want to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, we are so thankful to have you on this channel. And the audience definitely extracted a hell of a lot of value out of you. I hope that people not only listen to what James says, but go out there and start doing different things. And yeah, I guess the main takeaway from the end of this is, if you thought that SEO was complicated before, it's about to ruffle up quite a lot. So stay humble, stay consistent, and keep on testing new things. Thank you so much, James. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.